fans. So Canelo Alvarez versus John Ryder just concluded. It was I guess you could say wasn't what we really expected from Canelo Alvarez. First of all, if you guys have not seen the fight, go check it out. Right here, I'm actually going to talk about the fight. I'm going to break that fight down. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, please, again, too loud in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So it wasn't really the fight that we were kind of expecting from Canelo Alvarez. You know, Canelo Alvarez still looked good. Canelo Alvarez still looked sharp, but I don't know if it was just the toughness of John Ryder or was it Canelo Alvarez, the fact that he is actually getting a little bit more older. He's been in the game for so very long. He's at the age of 15 years old. He turned a pro. The guy has well over 60 fights. Well over, I think it was like 63, 64 fights. And he's barely 33, 32. So in some ways, yes, that's still relatively young. And in most people, that's in their prime. But most fighters at that time in their prime would probably be at their, say, about 30 range, meaning they had 30 fights, give or take. You know, people that are in their 28, 29, 20, 27, 30 age range, they're looking at their late 20s, maybe early 30s of amount of fights that they actually had. Where Canelo Alvarez, he's already well into his 60s. So Canelo Alvarez might be just a tad bit more older in the ring. And here's the thing about Canelo Alvarez. I followed Canelo Alvarez's career ever since I saw him fight. I believe my first fight that I've ever seen Canelo Alvarez fight was against Carlos Baldomir. And ever since then, he's been fighting. You don't really see Canelo Alvarez take too much time off. You never really see Canelo Alvarez take a vacation or take a break, or maybe he got injured and he's gone for a whole year. No, he's never really gone for that long. He's always still relatively active. So with that being said, it just shows like, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, he keeps himself really busy. He keeps himself really sharp, but that can also do some wear and tear on you. That can also break your body down if you allow it to break it down. If you don't give it that chance to rest, that chance to recuperate, it can catch up to you little by little. And I feel like that's where we're at with Canelo Alvarez. I don't feel like he's past his prime. I don't feel like he's not as good as he used to be, but I do feel like these fights are starting to catch up to him, and he does need himself a little bit of a break. Now, the fight, like I said, was good. You know, Canelo Alvarez looked very sharp. He pretty much, with his combinations, he seems like he's a little bit more of a one-punch guy now. You know, we remember in his earlier days, he was all about those combinations, throwing nonstop, throwing 5, 6, 7, 8 combinations. Now it seems like he throws 1, 2, at most 3. But he's still very powerful. We saw what he was able to do to John Ryder's face. He had his face busted open with the nose and the mouth. Wouldn't not be surprised if the nose broke. But at the end of the day, and let's not forget, I believe it was in the 5th round, he had John Ryder knocked down. You know, he pretty much knocked him down. We all thought the fight was going to be over from that point. But then it looked like Canelo Alvarez kind of slowed down the rest of the way. Canelo Alvarez kind of like, it seemed like he was playing it safe, playing it very cautious. And who knows? Maybe that was Canelo Alvarez's plan, or maybe he was just getting a little gassed out. Because you also got to take into consideration, this was in Jalisco, this was in Guadalajara, and their elevation level is a lot higher than it is in the States, especially here in Vegas. Vegas, its elevation level is a little bit different, but in Jalisco and Mexico, their elevation is very high, and it can do some wear and tear on your body. I don't know the exact numbers on what their elevation level is, but I know it's very high, and it can definitely tire you out the longer the fight goes. Because Canelo Alvarez looked sharp, he looked dominant in the earlier rounds, all the way up until, I want to say, round 6, round 7. That's when it seemed like he was kind of deteriorating a little bit. He was still keeping it on, he was still keeping on the pressure, he was still landing some really good combinations and really good counter shots, but it just didn't look like it had the same pop as it did in the earlier rounds. John Ryder, on the other hand, is just one tough SOB. I mean, that guy took on anything that Canelo Alvarez was giving him. He really looked like he was about to be finished multiple times in the fight, especially after that knockdown. His face was just a bloody mess, and at the end of the day, John Ryder still was able to edge out that decision. It was a unanimous decision for Canelo Alvarez. Some cards were a little bit wider than others. I feel like John Ryder could have gotten at least like 2, maybe, if you're being generous, 3 rounds. It's some of these, one of the cards was a little bit over the top. I think they gave Canelo like 120 to 1-2 or something like that. I don't know, something really outrageous. It was definitely one-sided for Canelo for sure. But you know, come on, let's not get carried away with the points given to Canelo. Now, as far as what's next for Canelo, we already have heard multiple sources, and even Canelo saying himself he wants that rematch with Bivol. We know he lost to Bivol last May, last year, back in 2022. It was a clear decision loss to Bivol. Canelo Alvarez just did not have the answer for him, but Canelo Alvarez is very sure and very certain he wants Bivol at 175. We actually have heard from Bivol and said he wants to fight at 168. Well, let's face facts, Canelo Alvarez is the A side. Canelo Alvarez is the money side. Canelo Alvarez is going to give you that payday. So if Bivol really wants that payday, then he should definitely take it what he can get, because you're not going to get a big payday. You're not going to get a big superstar like you are going to get with Canelo Alvarez. That's just the facts. That's not just because I'm a big fanboy for Canelo Alvarez. That's just the facts. And what I also feel like, do I feel like this fight should take place? Personally, after this fight, I really do not know. Because Canelo Alvarez looked like he was in had some difficulties in this fight. He looked like he was struggling just a little bit. Like I said, maybe it could be the elevation. Maybe it could be the fact that the guy is literally already well over 60 fights and he has not had a break. Or maybe something else. Maybe Canelo Alvarez's time is starting to catch up to him. We do not know, but he definitely did not look like the Canelo of the old. Regardless of the fact that he did win, regardless of the fact that he did knock them out, but he just seemed like he just seemed a little bit more slower, a little bit more tentative, and definitely wasn't. I want to say wasn't the Canelo of old. Basically, point what I just mentioned before. He really wasn't that. He really wasn't the guy that threw all these combinations and that was going for knockouts. You know, it just felt really different. It felt really different. But it could have been any one of those things. It could have been a number of those things on what happened with Canelo Alvarez. So now he wants to go in there with Bivol, a guy who beat him pretty cleanly, and a guy who is much bigger than him, and a guy who also has really great boxing skill as well. So it's going to be very difficult for Canelo Alvarez. I would prefer rather him stay in the 168 division. You know what? You already shown that you could do the most damage and really show how great you are at 168. He is the super middleweight champion of the world, pretty much has all the belts. And let's go against David Benavidez. Let's make that big fight. Let's go against Charlo. Let's go against some of these young up-and-comers and make some real good noise. Because with Bivol, it just really feels like it's asking for too much. Bivol feels like he's just a little bit too big for Canelo and a little bit too skillful in that weight class. Now, if Bivol wants to go to 168, why not? Why not let him go to 168? That could be actually an interesting challenge. Maybe that's something that Canelo can really shine on. You know, maybe he can show his true skills. Maybe he just is not equipped to go up to the light heavyweight division. But personally, that's what he wants to do. He already mentioned it. He wants that rematch, and he wants to avenge that loss. And who can blame him? You know what? Hey, you don't get great by just sitting back and taking on easy fights. You get great by taking challenges, by taking risks, and that's something that Canelo Alvarez wants to do. As far as John Ryder goes, he actually won himself quite a bit of fans. You know, Canelo Alvarez is no easy task, and he pretty much did not make anything look easy whatsoever. He did not go down and lose that fight easy. He pretty much struggled and made Canelo Alvarez struggle. So it was definitely a very good night for John Ryder, and in some ways, probably one of the best things to happen to him, because yeah, I'm a fan of his now. I really did not know him all that well, but yet now I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, and a lot of people are going to give him that kind of respect. Now with the division's wide open. The division, he could face any one of these guys. You got Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, Charlos. Who knows if Billy Joe Saunders is going to make a return or whatnot. So yeah, there's going to be quite a few people out there that he can actually keep himself busy with. So there you guys have it. Hopefully you guys saw that fight. If you haven't, go check it out. It was somewhat decent. It wasn't what we're quite used to, but it definitely was a little bit better than what we have previously seen in Canelo Alvarez's previous opponents. So guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.